Travis Wayne Goodsell. Oh, Nelly. Growing up as a Mormon, with the Book of Mormon, and the story about Laman and Nephi, as I was treated as the black sheep of the family, I often wondered if I therefore had lost my birthright and blessing as the oldest of 5 children. And that wondering if Todd believed that he was Nephi to take over the birthright blessing of a family from me. But as I've told you the stories of our lives, he's gone on to reach the heights of academia with a PhD and has fallen so where he's only able to get a job working for the church in their records department, looking for strayed Mormons like me. Yesterday, well, it was actually 2 days ago, during the night, I was not allowed to sleep. I had repetitive dreams, hour after hour after hour, 3 of them in a row. If I had ignored the 3rd one, I would have been woken up again for a 4th time. There's a reason why I'm emphasizing earth, wind, and fire in all my videos lately. If you remember when I first used it. You need to pay attention. I know you hate me, Mormons. I know you hate me, ex-Mormons, because I trash talk John DeLynn, warning you against him. I know you don't believe. I know you want me silenced, as YouTube has picked up the pace on trying to silence me. You do not understand. If you were not so hard-hearted, I would tell you more about myself. I have given you the answers to the beginning of the latter days and the end of the latter days, the time frame of the latter days, 2017, 2024. I did. No one else. Do you not understand what Amos 3:7 is telling you? Do you not understand the scriptures from Moses and Joseph Smith and Acts, which Joseph Smith chose Acts over Deuteronomy? Because there's a certain thing that occurs that I had not, since recently, figured out the day of the Lord. The abomination which maketh desolate. I even gave unto you the fulfillment of the coronavirus for 2020. Nelson, who's supposed to be the guy in charge and in the office of to do Amos 3:7 for you, has failed miserably in all areas. Not just failing to protect you as a medical doctor from coronavirus. There's a reason, and I've been telling you this reason for the past 4 years. I've decoded Mormon scripture and the Bible. And I've been trying to teach, not just warn without teaching. I've tried to let you know. I've tried to, as Moses wanted, I would that all were prophets. All being sons of God, and daughters too. Because Joseph Smith gave priesthood office, as well as the priesthood to women. The priesthood of Ammon. I'm the one who's revealed the signs in the heavens to you. I'm the one who knows Paleo-Hebrew, who deciphered it. I'm the one who deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs, the pictures within the text. So yes, hieroglyphics, but they need to be distinguished from the text. Nobody translates them in Egyptian, in Egyptology. That's me. Nobody has revealed the true history of the church. Yes, people have discovered things. And we're going over D. Michael Quinn's Early Mormonism and the Magic World View to show you how wrong he is. He had a good thought, no dot, as my high school anatomy teacher used to tell us, which is an inside joke you wouldn't understand unless I explained it in detail, but then it ruins the fun. I'm the one who's revealed how to set in order the temple. I'm the one who's had dreams and interpreted them for you. Prophecy dreams, such as yesterday eve night, the previous night. Dragon Slayer. And so I'm also the one who knows how to correct and restore the Bible. Ezekiel 37. Like I said, if you weren't so hard-hearted, I would tell you more about myself, about my childhood, about dealings with snakes and dead branches and hot burning coals, as yesterday's dinner reminded me of. And so I'm the one who knows how to restore Zion and build it. Did that video for you. That was the reason for the dream, so I'd do that for you. And so despite knowing the beginning and end of the latter days, 2017, 2024, despite knowing the coronavirus for 2020, I even learned of insider information to warn you in advance that our own governor was in conspiracy to commit crimes against us with the University of Utah's CEO of mental health to cause the spread and escalation of coronavirus, to keep it going, to make it worse. And the church profits either way, both with the coronavirus because they altered their stocks in March 2020, as well as from the vaccines. So yeah, the church is making huge bucks off of this conspiracy against us. And instead, you've hardened your hearts. You're going to go to civil war over mask mandates. You didn't go to civil war when we were told to stay home and it wasn't long enough. Just a couple of weeks. Even then, our Governor Herbert said, well, it's your choice. You know, if you're an essential business, you can stay open. Yeah, everybody thought their business was essential when it wasn't. And so, yes, it is out of control. We have Moo, and it's not Monsters University, as I saw there's a baseball cap for it. It's the Greek letter, which I've gone over with you. Remember, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I deciphered Paleo-Greek too. Mu is the high priest symbol. And so, last night, I was going to watch as my bedtime movie story, Nothing to Lose. That's what I was inspired to watch. So I pulled out my file and opened it up, and there was National Treasure right at the beginning. You know, National, N-A, is before N-O for nothing. And I went, oh yes, perfect. I had no idea how perfect. It's interesting how when you watch something without knowledge and background knowledge, that it can be fun and exciting and cool and among your top favorite movies, especially with Diane Kruger. And she lifts up her leg in the dressing room. We all know what that means, don't we, ladies? And awesome movie. And yet, once you get knowledge of the subject matter, and you get a background knowledge, as I said, I'm the one who's learned the real church history. National Treasure is the theme movie for Joseph Smith's Mormonism, just as Earth, Wind, and Fire's September is Joseph Smith Mormonism's theme song. Now, yes, there are some liberties that Hollywood makes to their movies. And this is Disney. They make lots of liberties to their movies from the original stories for their cartoons, for example, such as Hercules, or Little Mermaid, or Lion King, or Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, etc., etc., etc. Bambi, which gave rise to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Poor little Bambi. First Bambi's mother, now Bambi. Bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet. So I still have room on the plates, and I'm still alive to keep doing these videos for you. And then this is, like I said, going to be a long one, if I said it. I don't have much time. I have an hour and a half time limit before I have to at least stop the video and go shower and shave in preparation for my laundry today, of all days. And then I've got a shortened time because this is the day I go out, because I'm forced to. I'm not allowed to stay home and stay safe. There's one day a week where I have to risk getting coronavirus. So in National Treasure, it opens up with little Gates sneaking into the attic, getting caught by Grandpa. And Grandpa tells him about the nights Templar. Joseph Smith Sr. was a Master Mason in the York Rites, with the Knights Templar as the highest rank. You've probably heard about Masonry and 33 degrees and all this evil. Well, that's not the York Rites. Those of you who keep putting comments trashing Joseph Smith's family for being York Rites, thinking they're the evil Freemasons, you're wrong. You've been fooled by the other Masons who are the evil ones, for which the anti-Mason movement was thwarted, or they thwarted, or suppress. That's the word we're going to use. Suppressed the threat to America. And the liberties that National Treasure took with the York Rites, Knights Templar, is that they said that the Knights Templar had obtained the treasure from the tombs they found underneath Solomon's ruins, the temple ruins, because they lead us to believe that the treasure was passed around Europe before it finally came to America with our founding fathers. No. If you've been listening to my videos, I've even revealed to you the source. The X marks the spot, literally, in America, where the Knights Templar, buried under the ground or in their hat, in the caves in the United States, with a rock, Urim and Thummim, Benjamin Franklin's glasses that were hidden in the Liberty Bell Tower, and Masonic cement brick. That's the Urim and Thummim. But I've told you the corrected version, that after Friday the 13th, because the Pope was not happy with their popularity over the popularity to him, and the worship to him, through his God, Jesus. Instead, the Knights Templar were under the bloodline of King David for the latter day. King David, to restore the kingdom of David in America. That's what our founding fathers knew about. Both what became the bad Freemasonry that you now know and the York Rites were mixed among our founding fathers. They were originally good, but only the York Rites knew about the Knights Templar and their secret mystery initiations. Mysteries are not secrets, they're initiations in the temple originally of the Egyptians. And so the Pope was accusing them of worshipping the gods of Egypt, and he created Baphomet in place of Lucifer, and was concerned that they were not studying their Bible. Instead, they were studying the Egyptian gold plates. And so, yes, this is where D. Michael Quinn went awry. He did not do his research. He just assumed magic, and he even got that wrong, as I will get to. And I was up late doing all this couldn't sleep at all last night. I need to make sure I have that song. And so the importance of finding out when the day of the Lord has been one that I've been trying to figure out. I've been trying to figure out what will be the Exodus trigger. I got everything else. The first and the last of the latter days, so I know the time frame. I know it's got to be sometime now. I knew the coronavirus in 2020, 3,333 years from the Jewish designation of Moses' Exodus. Moses is the Christ. He's the Christ of the Jews, and they're looking for, as Moses himself said, a man like Moses for the latter days, to fulfill Jeremiah chapter 23, who also is a descendant of King David. Everybody prophesies of this. Even the Book of Mormon tells us everybody prophesies of this guy for the latter days. That is the Holy Grail. The bloodline. And so sorry, Indiana Jones. You didn't choose wisely. You just survived. That Knights Templar, again, Hollywood taking liberties. And even Dan Brown, with his Da Vinci Code, taking liberties. The real history of the Knights Templar is different, and I've given it to you. And so, my goodness, where do we go from here? Yeah, I've got all scattered out, and we definitely need more heat, Diane. Okay, and that's part of the thing. Yes, Joseph Smith Sr. That's what we need to cover, to remind you. When he lived in Vermont, and he moved frequently. I had obtained the different places that he had moved yesterday. Let's see if I can find it or bring it up. There it is. In 1796, he was in Tunbridge, Vermont. 1802, Randolph, Vermont. 1803, Tunbridge again. 1803, moved to Royalton for a few months. 1804, Sharon Township, Vermont. Sound familiar? Yeah, 1805, December 23rd, Joseph. 1807, Tunbridge. 1808, Royalton. 1811, West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Huh. That's by Dartmouth. Huh. Hiram went to Dartmouth. Huh. And then there's grave digging and such. There's a reason. I told you the videos. Told you in videos. 1813, Norwich, Vermont. They were then kicked out for their poverty. That's the law in Vermont at that time. If you're poor, you get evicted from the whole state. And so 1816, Palmyra, New York. And then they don't have listed Manchester in 1818, the farm. And then there's some others after the Book of Mormon. And so this is senior, not junior. Jr. was sent on specific missions to babysit a specific money man and blew it with the first 116 pages of the original manuscript. And so, a story needed to be told to fix Joseph's blunder. Alright, so I need to get rid of these papers. I only got rid of one so far. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this. Alright. So, D. Michael Quinn correctly points it out, and I don't understand why ex-Mormons are not referring to D. Michael Quinn's early Mormonism and the magic worldview when they talk about church history. Everybody thinks they're all clever because some psychologist created how to tell if you're in a cult. And so everybody around the world says, oh, you're Mormon, you're in that cult group. Right? You guys all did the videos. I'm the only one who did the video. No, it's not a cult. It's O-C, cult, double C spelling, which is different. It's Fox Mulder education. Remember, all things occult. That was his education, to be an X-filer. As he was stuck in the basement because he's a troublemaker, the black sheep of the FBI. And along comes little Dana Scully, who rewrites Einstein as her thesis paper in college or university. You even remember that? Yeah. And so, yes, D. Michael Quinn, in his early Mormonism and the magic worldview, says that, he doesn't say if, I'm the one who's trying to get through to Mormons, remember? Mormons are the ones who have been told by their prophets since Brigham Young that all of Joseph Smith's history is real history. If you hadn't caught on, the whole Egyptian gold plates buried in the ground looking at a rock in a hat, that's all Knights Templar of the York Rites Freemasons. But D. Michael Quinn did not do a thorough research and thought it was all just magic. That's what happens. If you're going to believe that Joseph Smith's history is history, that's the only conclusion. It's O-C cult. A cult. Not a cult. Because talking with the dead, getting spiritual revelation for apocalypses and all this with communications with the dead and the holiness to the Lord parchment, which he thinks is magic rather than Jewish mysticism, which is not magic. It's initiation knowledge. Code. Joseph Smith himself tells us he's coded things, not just in his first vision that I've gone over with you, but in Doctrine and Covenants section 45 as we now have it. He tells us the Bible's coded. I've been coding, and here I am going to give you another coding from the Bible code of Matthew 24, the latter days. And so when Doctrine and Covenants section 45 talks about Jews, talks about Jerusalem, talks about the Jerusalem temple, talks about Judah, it's not. It's code. The church missed it in 1981 when they decoded some of it. There's a whole Wikipedia page. I've gone over this with you. So don't harden your hearts. The church has already revealed that this is the case. If they didn't do it in 1981, we would still see Enoch and Gezellim in place of Joseph Smith, for example. And we'd be going, who the hell is this? Enoch? Is that the same Enoch from the Bible? He's still in there, you know. I did the video. And so, that one's done. So with Joseph Sr.'s tree of life comes from Jewish mysticism. Nobody wants to discuss this. The tree of life contains 10 points in the tree. There's circles, but and then there are 18 lines connecting the circles. That's 180 years. And I've gone over with you from 1844, 180 years is 2024. Joseph's death, 180 years, the tree of life is restored, hopefully. Mormons are too hard-hearted. This is my concern. The abomination of desolation is upon us. And if you haven't picked it up from the clues, I've already given you the date. The day of the Lord, I've given it to you. And I've got more because of what National Treasure led me to. National Treasure of Knowledge. It's too great for one man. And so this was the year Joseph Smith also ran for president. Do you not see it? He was running for president in 1844, but is murdered, and the restoration of the restored Joseph Smith's organization with the new president, the descendant of King David, restores the throne of King David, as there's a threat to America. And if Mormons had been paying attention to Joseph Smith, not just me, they would have known about this. Instead, they've turned on all of us. They are joining with the enemy, who is the church. So 1830 to 1844 is 14 years. That's significant because they know how to code. They know from Jewish mysticism and York rites how to code. Doctrine and Covenants was coded. Church history was coded. Book of Mormon was coded. And so 14 is split into 2 sevens. That is the rank level after Master Mason for the Knights Templar. 2 Knights Templar, the bloodline. Joseph Smith was intended to be the first, and Joseph is murdered, but he had already previously told us from the beginning that there's a future one for 2017 to 2014. 2 was coding with his own life about all this as well. And so, yes, you're going 33, yeah, but that other group, the bad group you said? Yes, that's the danger group. There's a reason why they chose 2020 for the coronavirus. Oh, yeah. Interesting. We're getting to this. Yeah. It's interesting that Joseph, after having his first vision, talks to his mother, not daddy. But when it came to Nephi, not Moroni, with the Egyptian gold plates buried in the ground under a rock and a hat, he's talking to daddy. And it's this that was first. There was no recorded first vision prior to his talking about Nephi and the Egyptian gold plates. This was first. You understand this? It's the 1838 version that places it prior to in the spring of 1820. There are some other first vision accounts, but those were specifically directed at individuals. The 1838 was to everybody. This was why it's canonized. Those other ones were to specific individuals. So you need to learn about those individuals and why he would explain differently to each of them. You know, there's a reason why he told the Jew about the first vision differently than another guy, for example. He's not going to say it was Jesus. You don't tell a Jew about Jesus. He's not going to believe you. So that is not being understood by ex-Mormons. And so I've gone over with you how Nephi is code for the last days Christ. As Jesus comes down, just like Revelation 19, 11, and 17, to the Nephites, where Nephi is given the keys of Moses to lead the kingdom for the millennial reign of peace of less than 200 years. And is asked, told to write what didn't get written, the prophecies of the name of God. Samuel, the Lamanite. They're all coded for you guys. And you guys get mad and you harden your heart saying, no, it's history, we're OC cult. And yet you don't want to be called OC cult. You can't have it both ways. Let's see. And so, let me get to that. Okay, that's that. Okay, are we ready to get to the Nephi visit again? To decode the Day of Abomination. Learning of the Jews. That's part of this. Okay. Yeah, let's do the bad people. The Illuminati, founded by Johann Adam Weishaupt, 1st May, 1776, were a group of individual Jews. This is how people make the generalization to blame all Jews for individuals' actions. Notice it's our doctrine from the Article of Faith. Men will be punished for their own sins, not for Adam's transgressions. That doctrine is similar in that we don't blame a people for an individual's actions. It is wrong to blame Jews for what individual Jews do. Nonetheless, they purposely did this to throw you off and confuse you. And it worked. Well done. You fell for it, suckers and losers. This group specifically was upset with the Catholic Church and Christianity that had created homoousios under Constantine at the Nicene Creed. All their creeds are an abomination to that personage of whom all Mormons think is real history, and thus Jesus, not realizing that that creed that started it all made Jesus history. Made Jesus history. None of the Gospels are history. Too many errors, too many anachronisms, too many redactions. They are code about the latter days, 2017 to 2024. This is why Jesus dies, just like Samson dies. It's because 2024 is the death sign. That's what they're referring to. It's code. He did not live. It's the bloodline, the Holy Grail that we're talking about, who's mortal, born of mortal parents. They're the learning of the Jews, coming from the Egyptians. These Illuminati, as we learn, infiltrated the Scottish Rites Freemasonry in America after the Founding Fathers. So it was good and pure in the beginning, making good men better is the motto. Until the Illuminati infiltrated it. The Illuminati's tactic is to destroy and rise up with a new world order, with a world bank, or a central bank. The Rothschilds, Nathan Rothschild, was recruited by them to be their money man. And so Bastille Day with Napoleon, yeah, all of this was a part of the Illuminati's tricks to cause a war, destroy, and then rise up with a new government and a central bank. And they went around Europe doing this. And when Amherst Rothschilds died, I believe that's his name, Nathan became the birthright blessing son of the corporation. The brothers were assigned to other countries with their banks. And so, if you're familiar with the War of 1818, Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. 1812. 1818 was or 1918, yeah, was the virus outbreak that we're catching up on. The War of 1812, where the the White House was burned down. It was about our Continental Congress, our new government, our Congress, voting to stop our central bank. They're doing away with it. Nope, we don't want this anymore. Nathan Rothschild was pissed. He just became the head of the family now. And so he pays England, Britain, to do war in America. To try again to take it back from the failed Revolutionary War. And so thus the War of 1812. Paid for by Nathan Rothschild. It was from this war that they snuck in Illuminati. There was word that in 1800 the Illuminati also attacked America, tried to coup it. But it also failed. And so there may have been some spy plants, some sleeper cells planted in America even back as that early. But it was 1812, that war, which lasted several years, where Captain William Morgan, under General Andrew Jackson, who became president, who did away finally, by the end of his presidency, with the central bank again, because the war ended as Congress agreed to restore the central bank. So Andrew Jackson then ran for president and tried to get rid of the central bank again. You do not understand that banks are evil. Bankers are evil. Just watch It's a Wonderful Life. You will see how evil banks are. And the bankers did away with the savings and loan. Yes, I used to have an account with the savings and loan in Placentia. The evil bankers destroyed it, and I lost my money. As a kid, took away my candy money. Cigarette candy money back in those days. Oh, I didn't like it. It was chalk. It didn't encourage me to smoke. I don't know what people are thinking. But anyway, he had found out that the Illuminati had infiltrated the Scottish Rites. And he had learned from the Lewis and Clark expedition about the Mandan Indian tribe, who had made the land purchase deal with the Knights Templar in 1363 in Kensington, where the Kensington Stone is. It's Knights Templar coding with the rune, but it has the Knights Templar additions on it, and thus they were able to identify that it's 1363 on the date. And this was the purchase of the eastern half of the United States. And I've gone over, and I can't pronounce them unless I'm looking at the word. It's the native indigenous people there in southern Illinois, right there at the crossroads of the first and last day of darkness, 2017, 2024. I've gone over this with you. I'm the one who's revealed the signs in the heavens for you. from Samson and from Revelation and from the Book of Mormon. I'm the one who's done it, not a certain person who claims to be in such an office but doesn't want to do anything in it other than tell you to cure yourself with magic. But that's where he gets it from. Church has to be history. Joseph used magic, therefore I'm going to use magic to fool Mormons. But there's a infamous Scottish Rites who wrote a book, Morals and Dogma, who also wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, confirming that the Illuminati had infiltrated the Scottish Rites, and that they were going to, in the latter days, cause a destruction to destroy Christianity for what they had done to the Jews, what they had done to scientists. This is also important to understand. You know, the Spanish Inquisitions were not just for witches, the witch's hammer. They were also for scientists, and the persecution of scientists who were going against the church's official position on all things immortality. And so, yeah, it's an all-out revenge to destroy Christianity, as talked about by Albert Pike in his letter. And that they're going to use the doctrine of Lucifer with science, like 1984. And so it's more of a junk science as punishment to enslave the people. Got 50 minutes, as I'm 53 minutes into this video. And so if you've paid attention to what's going on, and you're probably a part of it, because you're already mad at me, you don't want to listen, because you're upset, there's all these anti-science, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, conspiracy theory hoax truthers. Conspiracy theory is not a bad word. It doesn't mean a lie. It means a theory about how more than one person is involved in plotting a criminal activity. That's a conspiracy theory. And yet the enemy, has purposely fooled you as suckers and losers to believe that it means lies, and that it's a joke and you shouldn't listen to anybody who comes out and exposes them. You fell for it. Good job. The whole liberal media has done the same thing. And even the conservative media, when it appeases them in their base, as they promote them. The deep state dams are in the swamp, lizard people. Remember, I did those videos. Q says that there's space aliens, satanic pedophiles. You can hide a collab, inverted pentagram of Brigham Young, pedophilia, Boy Scouts, plus the rape of teenage girls here in Utah. Not a coincidence. The enemy purposely knows how to trick people and deceive them. They use psychology, which I've exposed as well. Remember Cox and the director of mental health at the University of Utah in conspiracy to destroy us. Not a coincidence. Stanley Smith Stevens, Mormon, born in Utah, did his career in Colorado during World War II, was the one who used science and turned it into junk science for psychology, with the categorization of behaviors, outward appearances. There is no such thing as mental illnesses. There is brain damage, there is trauma. There is no mental illness. It's a fraud. It's a trick. It's a sucker and loser trap. And they've got our government using them as legitimate. They are drug pushers for the pharmaceutical companies, doing human experimentations right out in the public, in open, and all legalized. The atrocities of Nazi Germany legalized in America. As Utah, as I've told you, they have a secret concentration camp where those with behavioral problems are disappeared, just like the airport director who was arrested for child porn. Oh, all of a sudden he has 50,000 images on his computer at home. Oh, I guess we got to arrest him. I guess he'll have to quit his job and not keep the airport closed because of coronavirus. Governor Herbert gets his way with the new person to replace him. Yay, and coronavirus has spread and escalated. Not a coincidence. They know how to use what they are guilty of against other people through false accusations to get what they want, to silence people, and etc. And so the Scottish Rites are the 33 degrees. It's 32 technically, 33 is the honorary degree. And it has as its symbol 2 eagles that are facing in opposite directions. And so, yeah, you're going, oh, wow, that's the seal of Trump. Remember that? Trump went to speak at a college, and they made a seal for him, the seal of his presidency, with the 2 eagles of Russia, golf clubs. I'm surprised they didn't think to put in the inverted pentagram stars. They didn't do that part, so they blew it on that one. But, yeah, hilarious, right? Well, that's Russia. In the early 1900s, Russia had their Illuminati takeover and embraced the seal of the Scottish Rites for the seal of Russia, as America has the one eagle of the Illuminati, with the Illuminati in the streets of Washington, D.C., pointing to the White House. They planned the takeover. So James Ingersoll, in his 2 books, The Last President and The Amazing Journey of Baron Trump, or something like that. Yeah. They all planned this. Not a coincidence, not a hoax, conspiracy theory incorrectly defined. This is all real. Because the Scottish Rites were destroyed by a certain LDS church history figure in 1826, causing them to go underground again, as they did, to infiltrate another organization called the Confederates. And then the Confederates rose up against the Northerners for the Civil War, for which the founder, or the leader of the Confederates, then went and founded the KKK, for which our Senate filled with KKK members, said, hey, these Nazis are our kind of people. We're going to ignore them and what they do. That's their own business. And so it wasn't until America's finances were threatened that the KKK leader at the time had that scandal where he beat to death his girlfriend, his mistress, that everybody started realizing, we're in the hot spot. We need to go into silence again. So yes, there are still Scottish rights, there's still KKK, there are still Illuminati. John C. Bennett became an Illuminati after being excommunicated by Joseph Smith for adultery, polygamy. He had the magic potion number 9 to cause abortions. He'd get locked up in Texas now, and in Utah. It's illegal in the United States now. Women have no rights anymore. But the Danites refused to take him in. He was going to expose them. He didn't want them exposed, or they didn't want him to expose them, because they were getting away with it under Joseph Smith, constantly getting him falsely accused so that he's out of the way, dealing with the courts, so that Brigham Young could take over the church. But Joseph kept coming back. And now John C. Bennett got exposed and got booted out of the church. And so he was rejected by the Danites because he was going to blow their cover. So he went and founded his own Illuminati organization. Where did he learn that from? Same person who took over the church with Joseph's death. I've gone over that video every year for the anniversary or the Remembrance Day. My third great-grandfather gave Joseph Smith his single shot, which was given to Hiram when that wheel lock gave Joseph his 6-shooter. And so that kind of freaked out John Taylor and Willard Richards, because they were the inside men who were to make sure that they died under Brigham Young's orders. They were in his 12. And so Richards goes out to get the wine, gets his own 6-shooter, doesn't tell Joseph. At least that's what he tells us, because he doesn't tell us he gets a 6-shooter. And so both John and Willard have different testimonies about what happened, but they aren't brought to court to testify. They just gave their own statements to the members of the church as to what happened. That's why we have those statements in our church history documents. The trial resumed without the church, and the mob was acquitted because they were chased out. Something happened in the jail cell, or the room in front of the building by the jail cell. They weren't locked in the jail cell. They were allowed to stay in the room. Something happened in there, and nobody's going to go after the church, are they? Because their leader was murdered. But yeah, Joseph Smith chases them out with the 6-shooter. Even Oakes in his book covers this. But he still screws it up purposely to vindicate John Taylor and Willard Richards. And so, putting the pieces together, as I did, the evidence, they staged the scene after what happened. So Joseph Smith sees the mob coming. He goes to the top of the stairs. They go up the stairs. They can't bring their rifles. They're too long. And so all this talk about them poking their rifles through the door, lie. Shots firing all over the room, lie. No, Joseph was at the top of the stairs waiting for them. Fired 3 shots, hit the guys who were in court. Kind of hard when you have the ball wound to show for it. But during that scuffle, as the mob is chased out of the building, there is a shot heard in the room. Joseph turns, sees Hiram on the floor. He had been shot up through the jaw. Standing above him is John Taylor. They were fighting for the gun. The gun went off, or the pistol went off, shot Hiram. My 3rd great-grandfather's single-shot pistol to save them was used by John Taylor against Hiram. And he was on the ground. Whether he was dead or dying, most likely he was dying, because he had to be shot another time right there while he was on the ground. That blood stain from that shot is still on the floor of Carthage jail, despite Spencer W. Kimball ordering it cleaned up. There used to be a little plaque thing over it to protect the blood, to say that it was Joseph's. No, it was Hiram's. And so Joseph, seeing this, shot the remaining 3 balls at John Taylor, hitting him in his watch. The infamous watch that the church has pulled off the dials from the hands from the watch and chased him under the bed. Joseph then ran to his brother, weeping and mourning. And then the coward, Willard Richards, comes from behind, having hid in the corner of the room, comes up from behind Joseph Smith and shoots him in the back. Then takes his body, goes to the window, and dumps his body out the window down to the well, where they then shoot him with their rifles, the mob. And the Jupiter stone is found on his body. Jupiter stone has a part in all of this, and it's not for magic. And so Brigham Young refused to follow Joseph Smith's process for succession, changed everything to justify it so that he could take those who would follow him, in violation of Matthew 24's warning. Somebody says that Christ is in the desert, don't go. And away they went to establish the New World Order with him as King of Deseret. And bloody murders that were involved as well, as 9/11 was among those bloody murders. Alright. In the National Treasure movie, Nicolas Cage quotes from the Declaration of Independence, and he gives an incorrect interpretation. But talking about absolute despotism. This was the plot of the Illuminati, to bring a nation to absolute despotism and thus ruin, complete destruction, abomination of desolation. So that a new world order, 1,000 points of light, the bushes, if you remember, could rise up with a central bank. Korea, I think, is the last country that does not have a central bank, unless he has caved lately under Trump. And so, as the Declaration of Independence talks about forming new government from absolute despotism, they are using the Declaration of Independence against us to cause absolute despotism by infiltrating, by becoming numerous and popular among the people, rising up into power, and taking over leadership, becoming despots. Got a pedophile as one of our despots. We had a pedophile as the chief despot of the land, the king. They purposely lost the election, as the Book of Mormon tells us in 3 Nephi chapter 8. They tell us in code he will lose that 2020 election when the virus is supposed to be released, so that he can cause what's being done now. This was all planned 200 years ago, guys. And so, let's see. Yeah, let's get to no other object than I single to the glory of God. Do not get the plates for money. Remember that part in the National Treasure movie? Well, yeah, that's why Joseph Smith talks about it as well. Put the reference. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. Verse 46. By this time, so deep were the impressions made on my mind that sleep had fled from my eyes, and I lay overwhelmed in astonishment at what I had both seen and heard. But what was my surprise when again I beheld the same messenger 4 times, remember the video? At my bedside, and heard him rehearse or repeat again to me the same things as before, and added a caution to me, telling me that Satan, King Set in Paleo-Hebrew, the people who murdered Osiris, the guy who murdered Osiris and overthrew the kingdom, usurped it, it needs to be restored by the descendant of David, the Holy Grail, Horus of Egyptian, would try to tempt me in consequence of the indigent circumstances of my father's family, to get the plates for the purpose of getting rich. There were no plates. There was nothing to get rich for. This he forbade me. This comes from Knights Templar, just as in the movie National Treasure. This is why it's coded. Knights Templar, Jewish mysticism. Both of them. I'm concerned I may have to take a break anyway, pretty soon. Let's see. Okay, I think we're done with this. Yes, indeedly do. Good. So the whole Urim and Thummim? Yeah, Benjamin Franklin's glasses to see coded material. Not a coincidence, and as well as looking at the stars, as Abraham, we are told by Joseph, also did. Okay, if you remember the videos, I did one recently again for you on Abraham sacrificing Isaac. That's a sign in the heavens, in story form. For 8 April 4 CE. not 2024. It's 2020 years before 2024. And it's over Russia, not the United States of America. And 2020 is vision, perfect vision. And so the year 2020 is when the virus comes out. And it's 333 years from the Jewish date for the Exodus. This is the Scottish Rites, the Illuminati infiltrated Scottish Rites, who planned all this. As the Doctrine of Lucifer is Brigham Young's organization that conquered Smith. And so, two eagles, the 233s, joined together. They purposely planned all this. That's why I'm concerned about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And right on the eve of the 3,333 year from the Moses Exodus, as designated by the Jews, she better not have been assassinated. That better have been a natural death, just a coincidence. Okay. 7th of September. Yeah, and so on the 7th of September, this is why I was concerned. I was thinking that the Exodus trigger would be before the new year, 3,334 years from the Exodus, which was on the 7th of September this year. And so I was bummed until, the dreams. And so, yeah, we got this. So this is helping you understand who's responsible for all this. I've already linked you. The GOP under Nixon flipped the star on the elephant upside down on their campaign buttons, letting everybody know we're in, we're the new Nazis, who were the KKK, who were the Confederates, who were the Scottish Rites, who were the Illuminati. So yes, under Trump, the conservatives with the inverted pentagram all of a sudden became MAGA, the mark of the beast in their forehead. As Trump was saying, you're going to need driver's licenses to buy and sell. Everybody laughed. Again, you're being played for suckers and losers. Alright, so those two go together. The first vision, don't join Christianity, Jesus is an abomination. So he's code. Alright. Nephi's dream of Nephi. Because, pictures. Show the log cabin home. And how Joseph, I was saying Sophronia was sleeping next to him. No, apparently she and the other sisters had a room in the other section of the roof. It was Joseph and his brothers that slept in the same room. And there were 5 of them all vying for the 2 beds in that room. And so Sophronia wasn't woken up. The brothers were. Hiram. Hiram. Spelled originally like Hiram Abiff of Freemasonry. Yep. So I'll put these in. Try to remember to put the Jupiter stone in for it as well. And so let's outline this dream for you. The visit dream, as the first vision was also a dream. Coded, so not necessarily a dream. You have a messenger whose name is Nephi, coded for the Christ in the Book of Mormon. A man like Moses, who I did the video yesterday of decoding the Book of Mormon, Moroni, and Mormon. That it's not only Joseph Smith Sr. and Jr., it's also Jr. and the future man like Moses. Just depends on what they're writing about. And so when Moroni, the son, is talking about the Christ coming, it's Junior talking about the future Joseph Smith in code. His name is Amun for sun god, as Isaiah tells us. The sun at noonday, which also is in the Book of Mormon. Pick some. 20 minutes. And so Joseph, I really need sleep. Joseph is told that there are Egyptian gold plates buried in the ground under a rock. Knights Templar. But that these plates talk about the end of the world and the destruction, the day of the Lord, the Abomination of Desolation. And they go over several different passages of Scripture to discuss this. And one of them is Acts instead of Deuteronomy from Moses, where Moses is talking about this last days man like Moses, the Christ, and then goes on to talk about the false prophet. And so yes, it's destruction of Mormons, the death of Mormons, not just being cut off like excommunication. And so Joseph in the beginning was not about the first vision, not about God and the theology of Mormonism. It wasn't about religion and a church. It was about the warning code in the Book of Mormon. That's it. That's all that it was originally designed for. Now, if you are aware, Sidney Rigdon is the major author of the Book of Mormon. As such, he's a Baptist Campbellite. And that brings an interesting thought to my mind on that one. Interesting. I could explain it. We'll get to it. Senior was interviewed about this, as well as Oliver Cowdery. And so not until 1838 that we find out, oh, okay, there's Heavenly Father and Jesus as our theology, and Father and Son Amen, even though it's in Scripture. Oh, man. But Sidney Rigdon had some conditions for part of his payment for writing the Book of Mormon. You didn't think he was going to do it for free, did you? They didn't have the money to pay him. That's why they needed Martin Harris to pay for the Book of Mormon. The Batavian Press could no longer do it because they already published a book about the role and responsibilities of Joseph Smith Sr. in Canandaigua, New York, for freeing or liberating William Morgan from the threat of death. And so as part of that, they needed to get rid of him, hide him in another country, which became Honduras, and have somebody else take over the publication of the book, which became the Book of Mormon. And the Lewis and Clark expedition with the white Indians, the Mandan tribe, with the Knights Templar selling the eastern half of the United States with the Cahokia? Did I do that right? Cahokia Indians of southern Illinois, then left right at that time period. Where they were holding human sacrifices for the sun god as Hakoakim. I screwed it up. Cahokia means Sun City. So Sun City, worshiping the sun god, worshiping by sacrificing a human. The death sign. Abraham sacrificing Isaac, solar eclipses in Egyptian, right eye, moon, left eye, and eclipses are for the plucking out of the eyes. Samson, Isaac, for example. So if you saw gods of Egypt, Horus, the son of Osiris, has his eyes plucked out. That's where it all comes from. And the two eyes of Horus, the sun and the moon, are the word Peter in Egyptian, which means seer. And on New Year, 2021 or 2017, 21st of August, Monson's birthday, was the ancient Egyptian religious calendar New Year. Total solar eclipse over the whole United States to start the latter days. Not a coincidence. And so that's what this is all about. The warning in the Book of Mormon is this time period, this warning that the Illuminati is going to destroy America right now. This one. Okay. Cipher. With 14 minutes left, I can go over a little bit. I'll be pushing it. I still need breakfast, but I may end up skipping it if I can't get this rest of it done. I still have an hour and a half before my video recorder shuts down on me. So, 4 times Nephi comes to him, warning about the end of the world, the day of the Lord, the great destruction. Let's go over those. Let's see, I'm going to scroll up. Yeah. Okay. He first quoted part of the 3rd chapter of Malachi, and he quoted also the 4th or last chapter. So let's go to that. And he does it differently. Should have just read it from the text, I guess. He does only part of the change, and it's from verse 4. So let's take it to verse 3. Will a man rob God? Yes. If he's the leader of the church, he will rob God with tithing. I mean, all of this is warning you guys. You guys are not seeing it. You don't care. It says, to start off with, behold, I will send my messenger, and he will prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant. So yes, Joseph Smith made this scenario up, in which the Kirtland Temple, he comes to his temple, and it's in section 110 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And so is it Peter, James, and John who's the keys of the first presidency? No. Section 107, verse 91 tells us it's Moses who's the key of the first presidency. Now, being a seer, Peter is one of the gifts of Moses. Prophet, seer, revelator, and, don't leave out, translator. And so, yes, Elijah, Moses, and Elishua. I've done the video for you. Elijah and Elishua, which means God of salvation. Salvation. Did the video for the 21st and the 22nd about Shed, the thief in the night, who is Set, King Set, Satan, from the Egyptian calendar. I went over that with you. I'm already an hour and a half in, so I'm not going to repeat that video for you. I put it in the homepage video selections so that you can refer to them quick and easily, even though they're long. I know, we're running out of time. And so there's Will a Man Rob God. And then go back to the history. Alright, so then Malachi 4. For the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall burn as stubble. For they that come shall burn them. Remember section 101, the parable of Joseph Smith about the enemy coming to Utah, because that's where Brigham Young sent us, as the prophets flee and Mormons are destroyed, along with all the church's works. This is what's being talked about. And again, let me remind you, I have been 100% in revealing the 100% accuracy of 2017, 100% accurate about the accuracy of 2024, and it hasn't even happened yet. And I've revealed to you the accuracy about the accuracy of coronavirus in 2020. It's coming. And I can't get a government officer to listen to me. And then Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. He's the God Yah. He's Son Yah, as I've gone over with you. It's all the same character. So Joseph Smith, even though he was doing it to be the Christ, it's also a type and shadow of the latter-day Mormon, section 103, verse 16. A man like Moses, the latter-day Christ. The 11th chapter of Isaiah is also about to be fulfilled. So let's go to that one before we go to the Acts one. Isaiah 11. This is the stem of Jesse, which there's a Doctrine and Covenants explaining it. There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. That's the descendant of David, of the latter days. And a branch shall grow out of his roots. That's a vegetable, in case you didn't know. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. Will not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove by the hearing of his ears. Righteous judgment, judge the poor, equity for the meek. So yes, I did the dream video for you yesterday about how the economy is supposed to be run. Alright. Ensign for the people, the descendant of David. To him shall the Gentiles seek. Set up an ensign to the nations. The outcasts of Israel, gather together the dispersed of Judah. That's Moses. That's from section 110. The gathering of Israel. The Exodus. 23:16. And then Acts. And then he quoted the 11th chapter. He quoted the 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd and 23rd verses, precisely as stated in our New Testament. Said that prophet was Christ. No, David Gaunt, it's not Jesus. Jesus is an abomination from the Nicene Creed. And so let's go to Acts 3. For Moses truly said, why not Deuteronomy? Because there's something different. The end of verse 23. A prophet shall the Lord God, your God raise up unto you of your brethren. Joseph Smith says he's Mormon. Like unto me, him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every Mormon who will not hear that Mormon prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Are you listening, or are you dying of coronavirus? You've been destroyed because you aren't listening. Yeah, and all the, and yeah, that's right. And it's cut off in Deuteronomy. And then it goes on to talk about the false prophet. They who would not hear his voice should be cut off. He puts the incorrect Deuteronomy in there instead. Hilarious. Yes, that's what it all refers to. If you're not listening, you're going to die. You're not listening. You're dying. There's so much death lately because of that conspiracy between Cox and the psycho at the University of Utah. And then Joel, that's dreamer of dreams, sun, moon, stars, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, Ghostbusters. And so, after being told 4 nights in a row, or no, we can do D. Michael Quinn here. D. Michael Quinn is saying that this is magic, witchcraft. the OC cult. And from his magic, Mormonism and the magic worldview, I can bring that up. So let's take that down. Bring that one. Yeah. Alright, so D. Michael Quinn in his early Mormonism and magic worldview claims that Smith's experience with this spirit on 21st to 22nd September 1823 fits the internal dating of his family's magic parchment. That's the Holiness to the Lord parchment. It must be in Hebrew, because there is no actual English September and a date on it. The Hebrew is too blurred for me to identify it. I have to trust that's what he's referring to, but he's wrong on other things, so I can't fully trust him on this. But if that is the case, it does make sense, because they knew. Let's see. The Holiness to Lord parchment inscriptions indicate that they're in Hebrew and they're blurred. I'll show you the picture. I tried to get the biggest one with the clearest picture of it, and it's still too blurry for me to identify. It's now 7. Crap. Inscriptions show 1823 was one of the only 9 years the layman could have been inscribed. Okay. See chapter 4. I have it, it's packed away, that's why I can't refer to it. I'm referring to Mormon Think, the website for this subject matter. He misses a lot of detail. Thus, he's not fully aware of what's going on, as I've been sharing with you this whole time, and especially in this video. Where is it? It's the 1 to 2 hour. Yeah, here it is. And so, according to Joseph Jr., the messenger Moroni, no Nephi, you already covered this, you know it's Nephi. Don't fall for Brigham Young's trick. Departed the next morning near sunrise, 5:59 a.m. according to the almanac. And I confirmed it with my stellarium. The messenger had communicated with him in 3 separate appearances since 11 p.m. And now he's going on. In magic, the moon ruled Monday morning from midnight to 1 a.m. And ruled means in the southern hemisphere, or in the southern portion, just like the sun at noonday. It rose, the moon rose at around 8 p.m. on the 21st. And so it's in Pisces, which is interesting if you understand what I understand. And it's not having to do with magic. He's claiming Saturn was from 1 to 2. Saturn rose at 11 p.m. Jupiter from 2 to 3. Jupiter rose at 12 midnight. Saturn is in Taurus. Jupiter was in Gemini. Mars from 3 to 4. Mars rose at 2 and was in Cancer. The Sun from 4 to 5. You just told us sunrise was 5:59 a.m. What are you doing? So there's an error right there. And the sun, rose at about 5:59 a.m. and was in Virgo. The moon was setting. I can set my stellarium to see which rises and which sets. The sun was not up. Everybody knows this. So what is he doing? You see, it does not have ruling power at 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's not even born yet. He blew it on this one, and he blows it on Venus. Venus from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. No, Venus didn't even rise until after Mercury, which was between 8 to 9 a.m. That's when they rose in Spica. So there's major error there. It's possible that this guy made an error. Major errors. He put 1843 instead of 23 in one other place in this passage. There's some problems. It doesn't quite work if they're trying to show magic for this. Dear God. But Mercury is the messenger, and would have been the time when the final visit occurred after his father telling him to go home. Okay. So that was all with that. Okay, so let's do Joseph Sr.'s account and Oliver Cowdery's weirdness. Let's see. Historical magazine, old files. Must be historical magazine. Yeah. There's it's called the Historical Magazine, 2nd Series, Volume 7, May 1870, interview with the father of Joseph Smith. And it was put in something back then. Times and Seasons or something. Alright. Lafayette. Is that the author? Lafayette Lapham? Let's see. I think it was in the. This is Joseph Smith Sr. I think it was in the year 1830. I heard that some ancient records had been discovered that would throw some new light upon the subject of religion. Religion? Really, Senior? Are you sure? Or the dismissal of religion. Being deeply interested in the matter, I concluded to go to the place and learn for myself the truth of the matter. Accompanied by a friend, Jacob Ramsdell, I set out to find the Smith family. Okay, this is the author, not Smith Sr. Then residing some 3 or 4 miles south of the village of Palmyra, Wayne County, New York, and near the line of the town of Manchester. Joseph Jr. afterwards, so well known, not being at home. We applied to his father for information we wanted. This Joseph Smith Sr., we soon learned from his own lips, was a firm believer in witchcraft and other supernatural things. Again, they do not understand Jewish mysticism. It's initiations, not witchcraft. And had brought up his family in the same belief. No. In fact, it was a Smith who testified with his brother-in-law against the brother-in-law's wife, assuming sister, and another girl, another woman, in one of the Salem witch trials. So they were anti-witchcraft. And again, you got to know the difference between witchcraft and Jewish mysticism. It's coded communication, not spells and such. This is the cover. And they're not going to come out and claim witchcraft. It's illegal back then. Joseph Smith got arrested for glass looking in 1826. It's not allowed. Just like polygamy is not allowed. And had brought up his family and said, okay, he also believed that there was a vast amount of money buried somewhere in the county. See, again, he's leading them down a path that they don't understand. Knights Templar, you don't look for it for money. Don't do it for money digging. That's the whole thing about the Knights Templar. It's about knowledge about the latter days and the destruction and the building up of Zion with King David. The Scottish Rites also knew of the latter days, and they have a ranking among their 33 that has the Prince of Jerusalem, for example. That's Solomon, with Solomon's Temple. So they both knew it, and so the Illuminati, when they infiltrated the Scottish Rites, knew how to use the Christian prophecies of the latter days with the science dates to destroy Christianity with. They're doing it right now. As Christians, evangelicals are the biggest of the gullible. They're the biggest of the groups of Christianity. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they have played you like a fiddle. That's why the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1923, when they reincorporated, decided to reincorporate as Evangelical Mormon. There's a reason. And I've been going over that with you. See, this is Smith. He wrote the 116 pages after Junior botched it. And so this is fascinating from a guy who doesn't understand the material that he's hearing from Joseph Smith Sr. Running out of time. Need to get to Gematria. He knows Jewish mysticism. He uses Gematria, and I gotta get to it. Somewhere in the country. America. Yeah, he knows exactly where it is. He's talking about the Knights Templar Code. That it would someday be found. Yeah, the latter days. Zion. The 2 Delta pyramids for women's breasts for nurturing and sexual love. For the birth of the latter-day man like Moses, who Joseph and Smith said is Mormon. And he has spent both time and money searching for it. No, writing the book. With divining rods. Yes, the rod of Aaron, which is now the gift of God. In our Doctrine and Covenants. That was decoded. Sort of. Not really. That was from Justice Winchell, who taught them that. And Senior was considered a master rodsman. You can't make money off it. They didn't make money. They were not rich. They didn't make money. That's what is not understood by people. It's a distraction. And he fell for it. You can't live your life doing something that will not make you money. You will not be able to get food, shelter, clothing, basic necessities, take care of a family. You need to do something else. And so, yes, this was not his career, but had not succeeded in finding any. No duh. Though sure that he would eventually would. He never went to Southern Illinois. They just talked about it in 19 July 1840, where the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem are to be built. Everybody purposely stays away from that area. The United States, under a specific president, rendered it a national forest, a national park or whatever, so that it's regulated, so that it can't be overrun and by developers. Not even Trump overthrew that one, like he did the uranium in Bears Ears for Russia, which the Washington Post exposed, and so Governor Herbert caved and got scared and canceled the deal. He calls Joseph illiterate because Hiram went to Dartmouth. He's the only one who got educated. When about 14 years of age, happened to be where a man was looking in a dark stone and telling people therefrom where to dig for money and for other things. No, it's Knights Templar Code. Joseph requested the privilege of looking into the stone, which he did by putting his face in the hat and the stone was. Proved not to be not the right stone for him, but he could see some things, and among them he saw the stone, and where it was, in which he could see whatever he wished to see. That's the well of Martin Harris, when Joseph Jr. worked for him. That's how they knew he had money to pay for the Book of Mormon. Spent about 2 years looking into the stone, telling fortunes, where to find lost things, where to dig for money and other hidden treasures. He got arrested, Senior. What are you doing? Get him arrested again. About this time, he became concerned as to the future state of existence and was baptized, becoming thus a member of the Baptist Church, just like Sidney Rigdon. Soon after joining the church, he had a very singular dream. See, the guy missed the Baptist Church part and put in his Mormon Thought blog page website about the singular dream and something else in here. And let's see. And he did not tell his father of his dream until about a year afterward. So they're now, Senior is now saying, oh no, he didn't tell me that first night. It was a year later. As Joseph in 1838 said it was. Oh man, okay. Gotta wrap up this part before I get to the gematria for you. Valuable treasures buried many years since. Place where they are deposited, could obtain it. Should describe old-fashioned clothes. Same color and a napkin to put the treasure in. To go to a certain tree. Hilarious. Mounted his horse. Yeah, Senior is purposely leading this guy on a wild goose chase. Hilarious. So where was the Oliver Codman part? Saul stopped here and ceased to direct them any further. The family took possession of the country. Oh, this is about Mormon. Okay. So yeah, the Liahona is gold. There you go. Of every dollar of it. I passed up Oliver Cowdery. But I found it curious that Oliver Cowdery was assigned as the babysitter after Joseph blew it with 116 pages and was sent to the Whitmer's home to let them believe that he was working on the book with Oliver Cowdery so that Senior and Rigdon could finish it up. I'm not going to find it. Alright. I've got to shower and shave. Alright. I've got about 20 minutes before I have to change it to the dryer. Still no breakfast. Still no sleep. The things I do for you. The things I do for you. The things I do for you. Isn't that how it goes? Alright. The three dates. 21st, 22nd, 23rd. As the Mormon Think guy is using D. Michael Quinn to say that it's on the Holiness to the Lord parchment. I'm not convinced, because they would have to use September using Hebrew letters to spell what's called transliteration into English, so that it would be Hebrew letters spelling out September. The Jews don't use the Roman names, the Latin names, for their months. They don't even use the dates for the months for their calendar. They use a lunar calendar. As I said, the New Year was on September 7th. Technically in the evening on the 6th. And that's significant for the evening of the 21st. As it was during Sukkot in 1823, the festival of ingathering tabernacles, part of the Moses gathering of Israel. That has to do with Moses and the Exodus. And then you have 7 years later, on the 1827, where you get Rosh Hashanah, the new year of the Jews. Joseph and the Jews are all over the place. Kirtland Temple during Passover with Elijah and Moses and God of salvation Jesus to the Kirtland Temple, giving him keys, all code, and having to do with the Exodus, which is 333 years last year. Ended on the 6th at 6 p.m., which was when they were the enemy. The Scottish Rites, infiltrated by the Illuminati of Brigham and Heber C. Kimball, are involved in. That's why Nelson came out in his solemn assembly in a major temple yet to be determined in Russia. And dealing with Russia, the dragon, who both they and Trump want buildings in Russia, maybe, so that they can claim the land. Trump wants a Trump Tower because he's all mushy for Putin. This is from John's Revelation. There's a dragon, a beast, and a false prophet. We now know the interpretation because it's happened. This isn't something we're making up. The dates are specific in Revelation. And so The 21st corresponds with 1823. The 22nd corresponds with 1823 to 1827. Joseph goes back year after year for 4 years, as the Nephi visited him 4 times in the course of the evening into the next day. And then 23rd is 2017, which was right after Rosh Hashanah, the new year of the Jews, that year. A month after the first day of darkness, on Monson's birthday, and I've gone over the video with you. Only the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and their prophets are fulfilling signs in the heavens and signs on earth. But specifically lunar eclipses. There are patterns of lunar eclipses occurring where deaths of Mormon prophets fall from grace to death. And I did the video going over Faust, was the first one I recognized, then Hinckley, and then there was a space of time until I was freed from the concentration camp of Utah. I've gone over that with you. The church paid for and ordered my assassination. This is why. Because I know stuff they don't want you to know. This is why YouTube is escalating their silencing of me. By orders of the church, with Mormons working for YouTube. And 2014 to 2015 was the lunar eclipse tetrad, for which Perry Packer Scott. His mouth is still dry. And this is what resulted in Chad Daybell going psycho, because the church said, no, these are not the signs of the latter days. Yes, they are. Chad was right. However, Chad went off the deep end and went to become a murderer, just like King David, having an affair with a married woman and having her husband killed. His wife is murdered, and then they murder their kids, calling them zombies. And they dismember the kids' bodies. And so now they're locked up. And Lori is being lock them up. Not in a concentration camp. Lock them up. She's not insane. She is evil. Likewise, Chad. Death penalties. Utah's wanting to get away with their death penalty, just in time for the prophets to be locked up for their death penalty crimes. Isn't that interesting? And so, yes, and then Monson, which was a huge one I went over with you. Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. The stars fall from the tail of the dragon inside. And I'm the only one revealing these to you. Nobody else is doing this, if you hadn't noticed. And China isn't even making t-shirts for it. Remember, they did the one for the lunar eclipse for independence. They did the one for the 23rd of September 2017. And so then 2021. This is number 4. And so, yes, the learning of the Jews. We are in Sukkot this year. As 1823 was Sukkot first, not Suck It, Sukkot, on the day of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Tabernacles, the Ingathering. And then 1827 was the New Year. The New Year was in 2017, and then Sukkot was 2021, this year, 4 years. Seeing the pattern? This is what I'm trying to warn you guys about this whole time, is I wanted to know when the date was, and here it is. I got it. You're being notified. It's a little late in coming, but it's still before. You do have time. It's coming. And so these are all corresponding to Jewish holidays, holy days. Do not think that it ain't going to happen, that the church is going to stand supreme and that Jesus is going to come from outer space and save you. That's the big lie. Okay, so first and last, last and the first. Alright. 10 minutes. 15 minutes, actually. Okay, so. The Ottendorf cipher was referred to in National Treasure, and I'm going, hey, Book of Mormon is coded, Doctrine and Covenants is coded, Church history coded, and I was thinking, is there an Ottendorf cipher? And I couldn't think of one, because it has to be separate from the books that you use on the books, whichever book it is that you're using them with. And I couldn't figure any other publication that would give us such a clue. And no, there's nothing on the parchment of the Book of Mormon original manuscript. Where we need more heat, Diane. So awesome. And and the only closest thing that I could figure was the dates in the church history. September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, but that's not in church history. That's what it turns out to be in reality. It was 2017. But the Holiness to the Lord parchment, D. Michael Quinn seems to think that 21 to 23 September is transliterated on the Holiness to the Lord parchment, but I can't confirm because I can't identify the Hebrew clear enough on it, despite the largest one I can find. And so, how Nicolas Cage instructs us, well, it's his dad actually, I think, that instructs us, but regardless, you have the way it's written in the history. It's the day first, then the month, then the year, and so it's 21/9 and then 1823, 22/9 1823, 22/9 1824, 22/9 1825, 22/9 1826, 22/9 1827. The 1827 causes a problem. It doesn't work. It's too big of a number. Because the first one would be for the page number. So page 21, page 22. Second one would be for the line on the page. So line number 9. And then word or letter, character, 1823 to 27. No, doesn't work. And so just using 21, 22, and 9, I thought, wait a minute, hold on here. Joseph Smith Sr. learned Jewish mysticism. That's why the Tree of Life is in our Book of Mormon, his dream. And part of Jewish mysticism, as I did the video for you in great detail, Joseph Smith is a Jewish mystic and York Rites Mason, or Knights Templar Mason, something like that. And I went over the 3 other categories: Gematria, Tamara, and Notarikon. And Gematria is the one I set off. Ding, 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 ding. 10 minutes. And the way it works is that each Hebrew letter of the Bible, or each Hebrew letter of the alphabet, corresponds with a number. So you go through each character 1 through 10, Yod being 10, in Semitic Hebrew is what it's called. I've gone over with you that it's the Zeta in Greek for Zeus and Yah, same God, pictorially the same. So the Semites screwed things up with the Paleo-Hebrew, the Babylonians. And so then you get to the letter Kaf, the K, Kappa in Greek, which is 20. So once you get to 10, 1 through 10, then it goes 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, until you get to 100. And then 200, 300, until you finish off the alphabet. In Greek, there's more letters. Those who are Greek mystics have a little more to work with. And so that also makes it complicated for 1823, because you can just do any combination that will add up to it. So there's no way to really tell, because you'd be doing a lot of research on that. So it looks like the year is not to be included. And so what you have for 21 is Ka, K and the A. Ka is Egyptian. It's our spirit body, as they understood it in Egyptian. Interesting. Spirit body. Dream. Messenger. Spirit body. Dreams. Dream interpretation. Just like in my dream. The other morning or in the evening, keeping me from sleeping. And as a word, it means to be disheartened or cowed. Been hurt. Your feelings have been hurt. And 9 is the letter, when spelled out, for salvation. Yahshua. Yah of salvation. Jesus in Greek. Joshua is corrupted phonetics. The Semitic Yah of Yod becomes J sound. In Spanish, it's an H for Jesus, for which all Latinos and Spanish speakers are having no problem calling their children after Jesus, whereas us white folk, they're paranoid. They'll call us Joshua, but they avoid Jesus. Won't do it. And Samuel L. Jackson was called Jesus in Die Hard. No, not Jesus. Jesus. And so, Keb, the K in the second letter, Bet or Beth. In Semitic, it's referring to a house. That's where Aramaic script differs from Paleo-Hebrew. Paleo-Hebrew, should have gone over Ka first. The K is Egyptian script cursive linear script for the hieroglyph character in Egyptian of a scroll, a papyrus scroll. And so it's the written word where you communicate. The A, which in Paleo-Hebrew turns it on its side, as it should be. It's the eyes. Specifically, it's pointing this way. It's the religious eye for the moon. In Greek, they stand it up, and so it refers to technically both eyes in that particular instance. But for religious matters, it's sacred writing, and so it's often, all the time, pointing as the left eye. But if by chance you happen to see an archaeological find with Paleo-Hebrew on it, and the eye is pointing in the other direction, now you know how to decipher it. Ta-da! Gave you the key of decipherment. Good job. You're going to throw it away like Kwaku did? And so Peter, the eyes of Horus, seer. That's why it's the first one. And so the writing of a seer, disheartened. So again, Nephi, the code for the latter days Mormon, Christ, tells Joseph, hey, here's a book that talks about the end of America. The Book of Mormon. Lehi has a dream. Messenger comes to him. It's the sun from noonday. The last day's Messiah. The Mormon. The Christ. Comes to Lehi. Gives him a book about the destruction of Jerusalem. See the pattern. The reason why Joseph Smith said what he said in 1838. It's code. It's not magic. That's a distraction point. Because the enemy is using scriptures to destroy us. They're using the Bible, as Nelson is using magic and claiming the church history is history and thus magic, so that you can be cured of coronavirus by listening to him. Are you surviving coronavirus? No, your loved ones are dying all around you. Hearkening to Nelson is causing death. He is not the fulfillment of Moses or Acts or Joseph Smith. It's not him. He's the great and abominable church false prophet, the whore of Babylon. And it's going to fall. A day of the Lord. The great and abominable church destroyed. Babylon destroyed. In Doctrine and Covenants, section 1, verse 16. Babylon was not decoded. They claim they got it all in 1981. They didn't. They missed some. Lots of other places. In section 45, again, destroyed. It's not the Jerusalem temple. Okay, so the Bet, depending on which language you're using, or Beta in Greek, Kappa Beta, means to be quenched, extinguished. So you're on fire, you get a fire extinguisher to put you out, so that you can be saved. Sounds good, right? Well, no. You gotta add 9 for salvation. Quenched, extinguished of salvation. You are suppressed of salvation. The day of the Lord, the 22nd of September. Ta-da! Gematria. That's how it works. Joseph Smith Sr. knew it, told it to Joseph. They knew it. the suppression of the salvation, which is the day of burning. So those who survive, which, as I was told, it may not be me. So I was giving you as much as I could to help you. Need more heat. Alright. And so, yes, we have 2 Book of Mormon passages that talk about usurping. First one's in Jacob, the usurper. Chapter 6. Before brethren ado, at the end of chapter 7, the mystic Ty, or William Morgan, has usurped the information about the end of the world, the day of judgment on September 22nd. And so verse 8. Behold, will ye reject these words? Will you reject the words of the prophets? And also remember, Joseph Smith Sr. rewrote this as a junior. And will ye reject all the words which have been spoken concerning Christ? It's talking about Jewish mysticism and code in the Book of Mormon. Are you going to deny what I just rewrote for you? And the Bible, after so many have spoken concerning him specifically, and Joseph Smith says he's Mormon, and deny the good word of Christ and the power of God. Remember the first vision on this. And the gift of the Holy Ghost, the Ka. Well, it's technically the Ba, as it's not our Holy Spirit, and quench the Holy Spirit, and see, there's quench. Quench the Holy Spirit. Quench the words of the prophets by rejecting them. Quench by rejecting the words spoken concerning the true Christ, not the abominable Christ of Constantine at the Nicene Council with the Nicene Creed. And all the prophets, and mock the great plan of redemption instead of salvation. Same words, same concept, which has been laid for you. So quench and salvation in Jacob 6:8. Okay. The next one is back up in 1 Nephi, chapter 17, way down in verse 29. And what do you know? Moses, the office of the key of the first president, whose gifts include Peter, seer, revelator, translator, and prophet. Yea, and ye also know that Moses, so again, who's rejecting the word? Who's quenching salvation? Laman and Lemuel. Nephi, the symbol of the last days Christ, is explaining this to them about Moses, who is the Christ. Yea, and ye also know that Moses, by his word, according to the power of God which was in him, smote the rock. And there came forth water. It's all code. That the children of Israel might quench their thirst. They would not be saved. Notwithstanding they being led, the Lord their God, their Redeemer, salvation, going before them, leading them by day and giving light unto them by night, by day and by night. He leads me, and doing all things for them which were expedient for man to receive, they hardened their hearts, disheartened, blinded their minds, and reviled against Moses and against the true and living God. Suppressed, quenched, extinguished salvation. Right here in the Book of Mormon by Joseph Smith Sr. And Joe Samson missed this. He didn't cover this part. He went over other Jewish mystical passages in his book written by the finger of God. He still thinks the church is true, though. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't realize that Smith Sr. was the one who learned Jewish mysticism. He thinks that the Book of Mormon, therefore, is proof that it's true, because it contains Jewish mysticism. It was not created until 600 CE. Mormons. And so, there you go. Proof of the truth of the Book of Mormon, that it was rewritten by Senior because of Junior's botched job of 116 pages. The Day of the Lord. So, yes. This date was not established by the Smiths. They learned about it from William Morgan, who usurped the information from the Scottish Rites, who were infiltrated by the Illuminati. This is the enemy's date, just as everything has been fulfilled because of the enemy, using the signs in the heavens to coordinate. That's why China knows about these. But they're sort of leaving certain dates out, especially next Thursday, Wednesday. And as a thief in the night, we're looking at the 21st into the 22nd. That's when the warning was given to Joseph Smith in 1823. So, oh man, I missed it. Alright, so there you have it.